his guest, who is well able, Ambassador, will be sharing more about the situation there in South Africa and also touching on the situation here in Jamaica. The number to call 876-225-9478. Seems as if Jeffrey Tavares is ready to go. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I hope you're hearing me. We're having a little technical difficulties here this morning, but we're up and going. Are you hearing me, Ambassador and Sir Wilfred Radigan?
Yeah, I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Yes. Welcome to the Mecca Talk program here on Roots 96.1 FM. This morning I have with me Interpol Ambassador to South Africa, Andy Mashaile, and Wilfred Radigan. And Wilfred Rattigan, former FBI agent and talk show host. Ambassador, welcome to the Mecca Talk program once more, sir. Unmute your mic.
It's good to be with you in Jamaica and Wilfred Rattigan. To the people of Jamaica, what a gone, Jamaica, what a gone.
Mr. Rattigan, welcome to the program also, sir.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And it's always a pleasure to be seated with such luminaries as yourself and the Interpol ambassador for certain programs to South Africa, Mr. Andy Mashaile. Not only he's more than a friend, he's my brother.
Indeed. Ambassador, tell us what's going on in South Africa when it comes on to crime.
In the last few days, last week to be precise, the third quarter crime stats stretching from October 2022 to December 2022 were released. I have shared with some of you the crime situation in South Africa from the stats point of view. Crime has gone up, all categories of crime, be it contact crime, be it your trio crimes, be it crimes dependent on police. They have all gone up. And this suggests one thing. We need to look into why is this happening. I am sure this is the gist, amongst other things, of why we are engaging in this kind of a discussion.
Well, can I hear?
Sorry about that. Do you have anything to say to Ambassador, are you having a question to ask him, Mr. Rattigan?
I did not, I couldn't hear you. I finished my introduction, yes.
Yes, and I'm asking Mr. Rattigan, are you hearing me now?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Yes. I'm asking Mr. Rattigan if he has anything to say to you pertaining to what you just said.
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead, sir.
Ambassador Mashaile, you and I, we're very familiar with the crime situation in South Africa, and for years, South Africa has had to wrestle with ATM bombings and the crime in transit, not crime in transit. What do you call it?
Cash in transit.
Cash in transit. Yeah, cash in transit heist. For years, South Africa has been trying to wrestle with it. And I've been telling my Jamaican people, particularly the authorities, that what they should do is they should have established if not an intelligence center where they have the analysts that can look at emerging trends and look to see what's going on in other parts of the world and prepare for those things in the eventuality that they should arrive on the shores of Jamaica. When I'm not doing that, I'm telling them that they should establish sister relationships with law enforcement agencies across the globe. For example, the South African Police Service, because they're similar in crime patterns and crime stats and so on and so forth. And it would be useful for them to establish this relationship so that they can share best practices, share ideas, even share personnel, because there might be some things that are going on in South Africa that you have an expertise in. And so you come to Jamaica and you brief them about it so that they can prepare. Now, I've said all of that to say this. The cash in transit heist, yes, it's been going on in South Africa for a while. And in fact, a friend of mine sent me a recent cash in transit heist, and it was horrendous. frightening to watch. Now in Jamaica this week, we see where just yesterday they had a cash in transit heist in Jamaica, and they killed. I think they killed one of the guards, and they wounded, I think, two or three. Uh, Let me just say that at this point we're aware that somebody on the good side is dead. One of the guards dead. The others, I think they're nursing their injuries. They're hospitalized, and the money is gone. I think they took like, I don't know, 2 million, 3 million, whatever. The money's gone. What advice do you have for the Jamaican law enforcement and even the private security guard industry regarding cash in transit heists, based on what you're seeing in South Africa?
One, the law enforcement agencies have a serious responsibility to engage and establish relationships with cash in transit companies that manufacture technology that covers up the cash boxes in the event of any collusion as it happens. The modus operandi, amongst other methods of committing cash in transit heist, is to hijack cars, ram the cash van, and put explosives under the right rear wheel and set off that explosion and gain access into the cash van or the mechanisms of opening up the door. Way back will in 2014, the MEC, the member of the Executive Council on Safety and Security, myself and General Petros, if not General Mutiba, went over to all cash things, a company that produces some kind of a foam. That foam, in the event of that cash van being rammed, that foam envelopes the cash box. When it gets cold, that foam becomes, should I say, stone hard or steel hard, and the guys can't at that point in time lift that cash box. And in the meantime, your police, for the want of a better word, or those who are escorting that van, would then be able to engage the police. The current scenario now, fast forward to 2023, will SAPS has a highway patrol or some unit that gets dispatched to escort cash in transit vehicles, because some of these cash in transit companies do not have security vans or vehicles that belong to them that escorts the cash.
Well, see, the thing is, what I'm fearful of is this. In South Africa, people can readily get their hands on explosives because of the mining that's done there. In Jamaica, it's a little bit more difficult, but it's not impossible. We have heard stories of C4, the presence of C4 in Jamaica. And I'm just fearful that if they don't take appropriate action uh, in preparation for this type of assault, that what they're going to end up with is what we're seeing in South Africa, and it's horrendous. And I'll send it to Jeffrey so he can put it on his program so people can actually watch it, where they actually pen in the vehicle, ram it or pen it in, and then they blow it up, and then the guards inside, they have to come out, and when they come out to AK-47s. And I mean, it's not they're telling them stick it up, they're shooting them, they're killing them, and then they're going in and just taking the cash and go. And then this is organized because it's not two people or three people or one vehicle or two vehicles. I've seen somewhere you have up to 12, 14 people. And so you're right, they need to get the dialogue going with, if they haven't, dialogue going with private industry. And also they need to have a robust intelligence base, so that things like this, they know about it before before it happens. You don't want to be reactive all the time, because people are dying. And I'm just fearful that this is going to reach the shores of Jamaica. This is the second time we've seen it, I think, in about 2 years or 3 years. And this is something that generally doesn't happen, right? And shots were fired on the first one. I think shots were fired as well. And in this one, shots were fired again, and at least one person is dead. So I don't know if they're listening, but they need to reach out to somebody like you, somebody who has the experience, not only with law enforcement in general, but intelligence
Mhm.
uh, specifically, and cash in transit heist, um, ATM bombings. I mean, that's gonna. It's just a matter of time before that happens in Jamaica, and people are gonna lose their lives simply because of the myopic view of law enforcement in Jamaica. They don't look beyond their shores, and when they do look beyond their shores, they look to the U.S. where you don't have cash in transit highs. You know, it's just unheard of. Instead of going to countries with a similar problem, or countries with problems that they don't have, and say, look, let's. If I were advising the government, here's what I would do. I would come to the SAPs, and you and I know Ndose Magai, General Pele, he'd be willing to engage Jamaican constabulary force. I mean, he's told me this himself. And so I would say to them, look, let's broker a meeting. Let's sit down with the investigators. Look at the crime patterns in South Africa. Look at the crime patterns in Jamaica. See if there are any commonalities, even if there aren't. See if there are best practices that you can trade, and then you establish this relationship where you don't just go see each other when you have a crisis, but it's an ongoing relationship. I mean, that's what I'm used to. And I mean, you know my thing, Andy. You know, I mean, the generals. I, I didn't need an invitation, right? The people before me needed an invitation to go see them, and people after me. But I made it my business to go down there and just walk the floors and stop in at every general's office and say, "Good morning, General. What's going on?" So this is what we need to do, and I'm hopeful that you're watching the program and that they will contact you because you'd be the perfect conduit for something like this. So Jeffrey, I just hope we can get the message out, and I'll send you the thing that I'm talking about, Jeffrey, so you can play it on
Yeah,
your program.
I got it
You
from
have
you,
it.
Mr. Rattigan. But I think there is some words in it that I can't put on air. I could do it on a normal channel, but not on air with Roots FM.
No, it's two of them. I sent you two.
Two of them.
One of them is
Or one of them is okay. I'm gonna search for it after the break and let Owen put it up for me.
yeah.
Yeah. Ambassador, do you have anything to say pertaining to what Mr. Rattigan just said a while ago, sir?
I spoke about technology.
Mhm.
And now that it has happened in Jamaica, you need to have technology. And I spoke about law enforcement agencies setting up a unit that would escort the cash in transit vehicles. The third most important thing would be to organize a cash in transit safety summit where all cash in transit companies get together with the law enforcement agency in Jamaica. In this instance, JCF, engage also with the provincial or regional or local leadership responsible for safety and security liaison in a specific environment, in a specific district in Jamaica, so that all critical stakeholders come together, formulate a co-created law enforcement strategy or police and a policing strategy, or a co-created cash in transit prevention program. The fourth thing that I would like to talk about is to ensure that all of your critical community-based organizations become the friends of JCF, so that you have weekly or monthly meetings. In my case, when I was the chairperson of the provincial board, the provincial board in this case would be state board in the American context. I don't know how the geographic demarcation in Jamaica is. The state board would then sit every month. I would sit at the head of the table, engage the state commissioner of police, who is a member of my board, and I would look at the performance of the province from a month to month point of view. and I would know where the hotspots are, and we would agree from an operations point of view that there needs to be a hotspot stabilization and stabilize that hotspot. If it was a hotspot on hijacking, if it was a hotspot on theft or theft of scrap metal and that kind of stuff, and ensure that that hotspot is stabilized and that hotspot is normalized. You set up a joint operation center in area A or area B, region A or region B, so that you can then deal with crime sector by sector or block by block, and going through the whole province, going through the whole country. There are 9 provinces or there are 9 states in my country, and you would then be able to have 9 bots or 9 bots of those states who would meet on a monthly basis with their respective provincial commissioners with the rank of a lieutenant general, having all other operatives operating under. Now, from my campaign point of view, which is the 10-back crime, which stretches in 195 countries, amongst other things, would be to encourage the local law enforcement agencies worldwide, including in Jamaica, to ensure that you have your community policing mechanisms in place, where you can deploy your crime intelligence officers to work hand in glove with those structures to pick up things before they happen. You also have your community intelligence based structures or your community intelligence structures. Ordinary people sitting in a place of entertainment, your tavern, for one way or the other, picking up strategic and key things and engaging with those individuals and escalating critical things aimed at preventing crime before it has happened. In the event where crime has happened, they would go into the crime combating mode, knowing who the suspects are and knowing where the suspects are, knowing where the suspects came from. That kind of a system or a value chain would go a long way to ensure that. Remember, syndicates, crime syndicates in Jamaica would be related to crime syndicates in South Africa. So your transnational organized crime, there are moments and spaces in this universe where they meet. Amongst other things, they would meet on your deep web and dark web and pick up these video clips that get sent all over the world. And social media, WhatsApp, TikTok, they are marvelous and wonderful. My challenge with them would be where criminals pick up tactics, strategies and tactics to commit the same crime, like in this instance, where I have learned that it's only a few days or a week, some weeks ago, where cash in transit heist happened in Jamaica. In South Africa, cash in transit heist happens, I am definitely sure there are 2 or 3 or 4 monthly throughout the country.
Yeah.
Ambassador, how would you say to Jamaicans now who may go to ATM machines and so forth, because they're targeting ATM machines a lot, to protect themselves? How would you tell them to protect themselves, Jamaicans who go into the ATM machines to draw cash and so forth?
When you go to an ATM, don't go to an ATM in a spot that is darkly lit. Go to an ATM where there is ample light. 1. 2, when you go to an ATM, don't go to an ATM that is isolated. 3, don't go to an ATM at awkward times of the day. 4, do not ask for assistance from every Tom, Dick, and Harry who's in a queue or who's standing behind you in a queue to come and withdraw cash. I have, amongst other things, done my citizen duty got into my BMW, chased some criminals who stole an ATM card from a lady who did not have a clue on how to operate the ATM to withdraw cash. And the sad part is the husband of this woman was at a mine, was at work underground. So this woman did not know what to do, how to stop that cash card from being used somewhere else. I did not know that women. Amongst other things, I left my phone with strangers to ensure that I contribute towards crime prevention and crime combating, amongst other things. So long story short, if you do not know how to operate the ATM, go inside the bank, ask for the floor manager of Bank A or Bank B to assist you to draw money from the ATM. If they do not want to help you, close their account, go to a bank that is friendly, go to a bank that is safety and security conscious for its clients. If they think that they're smart, break their back by taking your money to Bank B.
Mr.
Let me
Rattigan?
just add one other thing to that, Ambassador. Again, you and I we're well aware of this, where they actually people of high net worth, they actually kidnap them, and they have some of the perpetrators at home, and then they take one person with the card, and then they go and they draw money from here, there. So there's also the element of them kidnapping persons where they're not actually involved with the withdrawal of cash. They just kidnap the person, and they have a family member that will go, and they will be escorted by somebody, and then they go around town and they take the maximum they can take, and then they come back. Do you want to comment on that, please?
Will, you remember very well the case of a young man who used to go to gym with me at Planet Fitness and Kane. I told you the story. Remember that story?
I do.
That young man had dropped the sister at a technical, at a vocational or the university somewhere in the Val. Yes, Val University of Technology. That young man drove on the entry wheel back to home, and he happened to have been pressed by the forces of nature, and he stopped his car to relieve himself next to Alex on the side of the road. Dark area. Out of the night, out of the darkness, crawled predators, kidnapped this young man into Alex, kept him hostage for about 3 days, took his ATM card, phoned the members of the family to deposit cash into this young man's bank account, used his ATM card to withdraw money, using his PIN to withdraw money from their account. 3 days later, they released that young man. The car was damaged. Apparently, they couldn't get hold of the tracking system in the car. They drove him. They had a sack all the time over his head. 3 days later, they released him into a place that he didn't know. He was able to find a car, and he went straight to Sentin police station. Remember, myself and Kane and him knew each other very well, because every 4:30 a.m. we are at the gym, myself and Colonel Kane Sibitan. So it's true. Once the high net worth individual, it's very important that when you drive a car, you don't just stop on the side of the road to relieve yourself. You actually ensure that there is light where you are, because you are going to be kidnapped. And they in Mpumalanga, Will, you remember General Zuma, who was once the provincial commissioner of Mpumalanga, invite.
Hold on for me, Ambassador. Sorry to cut you. Remember what you're going to say. We have to take a quick commercial break here on Roots 96.1 FM. We're speaking to Interpol Ambassador to South Africa, Andy Mashaile, and our good friend, co-host Wilfred Rattigan, former FBI agent. We'll be right back. We're taking a quick commercial break.
Highland don't salute. New Budget Supplies massive price buster now on. Want to redo that kitchen? Retile that old floor? Stop that leaking roof? Make over the bathroom? It's now or never. White toilet from $14,999. 5-gallon paint from $6,599. Gypsum board $1,749. 50% off UPVC French windows. 10% off kitchen sinks, water tanks, and pumps. 195 Hackleburg Road. Telephone 923-4560. New Budget Supplies. Always the best prices.
Hi, I'm Sharon.
Hi, I'm Marcia.
I'm Adrian.
Join us this and every Wednesday morning for Extraordinary Abilities on Roots 96.1 FM. Join us for news, views, and interviews with extraordinary people. Extraordinary Abilities every Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on your extraordinary radio station, Roots 96.1 FM. It's gonna be fun, informative, and educational, but most of all, it will be extraordinary.
Roots FM 96.1 in association with DJs in Promotion Proto presents the Innocent Vibes Roadshow on Tuesday, February 28, 2023 at All Star HQ, 153 Olympic Way, Kingston, 11, Jamaica. We're going to be broadcasting live from 2 up until 6 p.m. Lots of prizes to be won. Be a part of that reality. It is the Innocent Vibes Roadshow.
Salute.
Welcome back to Make We Talk here on Roots 96.1 FM, where we're listening and watching from around the world in the Eastern Caribbean. This is Make We Talk. We're speaking to Interpol Ambassador to South Africa, Andy Mashaile, and our good friend Wilfred Radigan. Ambassador, you were saying something before the commercial break. Continue, please, sir.
High value targets. We went to Mpumalanga, as my job, amongst other things, had to do with community mobilization, the 10 Back Crime campaign, of which I am the ambassador for on behalf of Interpol, encourages me to go into communities. Like I am now physically in South Africa, but my mind is in Jamaica and my voice is in Jamaica, and we are sharing some wisdom with regard to crime prevention. We went to a community there, Jeffrey. That community was a community of professionals, people like yourself, Will, Ep Nielsen, and most of the viewers and the people within the Jamaican community and everyone else around the world. It was composed of teachers, soldiers, nurses, general people who add value to our communities. And we learned there in the discussion with those members of the community that on Sundays, ordinary days, the criminals would know that those members of the community would be preparing themselves to go to church. They would come into your house at 11 o'clock a.m., 11 a.m., 12 or 14 of them to request your car keys during the day. And they went into this business woman's house. They knew that she was running a bottle store, and they came prepared with information and intelligence. They requested that woman open the safe and give them money. That woman indicated to them that you are just a few hours late. The cash van already took the cash money from my house. Fast forward, they wrapped her with a carpet, cut the carpet at the back, and they opened up at the back of his body. They opened a square, a hole. They put in an iron, a hot iron. They banned that woman. That woman gave them 3 credit cards. They went to the bank. They withdrew 5,000 from each of those 3 cards, and went back to the house. Fast forward, one of the gang members could not bear the sight of a woman being bent with a hot iron for money. And when they left, she told that woman was being bent. He was actually the one who was guarding the victim. He then worked with the police to identify those suspects, those who came into the house. So yes, Will is correct. They come into your house, kidnap you or hold you hostage, take your cards, go and withdraw money. In some other instances, they hijack you for the sole purpose of withdrawing money from your ATM account. They withdraw you at they kidnap you or they hijack you at 1700 hours. They will go and withdraw at all of the banks where you have accounts, and they will wait for midnight to come through, have an access again the following day into your account, keep you hostage, wait for another 12 o'clock midnight to come through so that they can ultimately clean your accounts, amongst other things.
Ambassador, based on what is going on in Jamaica, which I'm pretty much sure you're aware of the whole thing with this SSL, in other words, the Stocks and Security Limited, and Sagicor Bank and other banks that is having, people going to people's accounts, going to people's account and defraud them of millions and millions of dollars. What would you say to Jamaicans who are customers of banks and also stocks and bonds in other companies? What would you say to them to try and protect themselves? Even Jamaica's Sprint King, Usain Bolt, was defrauded of over $1 billion. What would you say to them for in the near future if they're going to go into something like that? What do you say to them to protect themselves?
Invest in a credible institution. And the next question that you're not asking me that I'm going to answer, I'm going to say, what is a credible institution? A credible institution is an institution that will allow its clients, and banks don't want to do that, will allow its clients to engage with them. Like in this case, some of us refer to the Sprint King as the lightning bolt. The lightning had a responsibility that would have been made easier by SSL by inviting him as a critical key stakeholder to open up the books to all those high net worth clients. Open up your books to them, allow them to understand what is going on in their accounts, and also your financial regulating authority. They would, in South Africa, you have your FICA, those who deal with financial intelligence, amongst other things. Bodies of that nature needs to be established so that one, Jamaica is not grey listed as South Africa is, as per the last few days. And what that would mean would be to check the bank's operating systems, to check the value chain, to check money laundering, to check withdrawals, high withdrawals, even if it's by the bank, to check money movement in the banking system, to ensure that monies do not leave Jamaica, and the central bank is perpetually on the go. They know what is going on in the banking system in Jamaica, and people don't lose money. I think the clients of SSL and well over, they would now want some kind of an authority, regulatory authority, that would allow them to have access to know what is going on in the bank. Banks capitalize on the ignorance of the clients of its operating systems because of the legislation that enables them to hide the operations. You invest there and have faith in them. And some of the bank officials operate in bad faith and collaborate with scammers and with criminals.
Ambassador, I'm going to Mr. Rattigan come in, but Ambassador, Jamaica has a regulated system, you know. We have the what's the name of the system again, Mr. Rattigan, that was regulating stocks and security. And they realized that there was some irregularity going on in stocks and security, but they did nothing about it. It is rumored that maybe they got a call from higher up saying that they must stand down.
Once you have an authority that is not living up to its mandate, kick them out of the office. Hang them dry through regulations, hang them dry through instruments that allows you to hang them dry. An authority that is not taking its mandate very serious is criminal. It's criminal in conduct and it's criminal in having taken it upon itself to ensure that the people who participate in that authority and their responsibility and the mandate that they have are not taking it serious. Must never be excused from the law, and the law must never excuse them from punishment.
So what you're saying then, that maybe Hussein Bolt should not only sue stocks and security for his money, but sue the Jamaican government agency that is protecting stocks and protecting the people. In other words, what's the name of the company again, Mr. Rattigan?
Financial Services Commission.
Yes. Because they're the one who did not do anything about it. They realized that there was some irregularity going on in stocks and security for years, and they didn't do nothing about it. So what you're saying to us now, I'm just asking you this question. Do you think that maybe Mr. Bolt and other clients should sue financial services and also stocks and security for his money?
Yes. And by the way, Hussein Bolt is my son's favorite. My son is running, he's 10 years old now, he's into sprinting because of Hussein Bolt. When I told him the story, my boy was very angry. He was saying to me, Dad, why are the police not arresting those people who stole his money? Yes, you are quite correct. You sue the Financial Services Commission because the mandate, I don't know what is the mandate of the FSC in Jamaica, but if part of the mandate is to ensure that they red flag irregular operations of that bank or that investment company, and they didn't do that, it's a criminal offense, and they must, one, be sued, two, criminal charges need to be laid against all of them. Those who are still in the system and those who were voted out or those who left the system, they knew, you track it back from the day that they knew that there's an irregular, there are irregular transactions in the banking system or in the investment scheme of SSL. And if they didn't do anything about it, they were accomplices to crime, because crime has been committed here. This is not a picnic. That money is not borrowed for picnic somewhere at Montego Bay. After taking a splash, that money will come back. It's money that has gone down the drain, and they must pay back that money, and they must go to jail.
You know what's funny, Andy, is that the Financial Services Commission, they have the power, the authority, the wherewithal to have shut down SSL months, if not years, before they realized that the money was gone. And they didn't. In fact, what they did was they kept sending letters, emails to the Minister of Finance, apprising him of what was going on. And then in the end, the minister said that the last letter they sent, I think it was 2022, he was saying that, oh, I didn't get the letter, even though the person who was in charge of Financial Services Commission worked closely with the minister at the Ministry of Finance before he moved over and accepted this position. And in the email, in the letter, he said, I'm sending this to the minister by email and electronic mail and by bearer. And in Jamaica, when they say bearer, that gets delivered the same day. And he said he couldn't find it. First he said he didn't get it. Then he said he spent hours with the staff going through documents, and then he found it, right? But be that as it may, and we don't believe that to be the case. We believe that there's something else going on, that it was actually delivered and that people just ignored it for whatever reason. But be that as it may, the Financial Services Commission didn't need the minister's approval or authorization to take action. They could have done so on their own. That's their mandate, and they didn't. So it's a comedy of errors, you know. And I'm not even sure the errors that if they're like accidental, you know, maybe they were deliberate, you know. And then you can't even call it an error if it's deliberate. It's, as you said before, it's a crime. So we're waiting to see what's going to happen. But you know, the thing about Jamaica is that with less than 3 million people, I find it startling that they don't have and we talked about a robust intelligence base earlier. I'm surprised that they don't have it. So South Africa has, I don't know, 55 million people, and yet still they're able to develop. In fact, I'll tell you something, Andy, and you know this. When we used to hang out at Busy Corner, a policeman told me one time, he said, and I'm not quite sure who, it was a high ranking police. He said, look, the cash in transit heist guys, we know them. We know them. They hang out here too. We know them, right? And we have our eyes on them. In Jamaica, it's a journalistic death, which is like 7 days. So the story, it gets wound up, it gets percolated to the society at large, and then it just dies a natural death, and it's overtaken by another story. So that's why I'm pleading to the Jamaican authorities that if you really want to improve your system or systems of investigations, you need to reach out to somebody like Andy Mashaile. You don't need me because as they say, I'm a rabble rouser. I'm gonna be looking into stuff. I'm gonna be doing things that will upset the apple cart, will probably cause you problems. But if you want somebody who can give you an honest, objective appraisal of what's going on, what you need to do, here's a man. Here's a man, and you have no need to be fearful of him because he's not from Jamaica. He has attachments to Jamaica, but he's not from Jamaica. I'm from Jamaica, so you might be fearful of me that I'm going to be, saying things, doing things, causing all of that stuff. But here's a man who you should have no fear of because he's going to help you develop your system so that you can fight crime and fight crime in a meaningful way, not in a way where you just you just make good speeches and the words flow like a string of pearls. No, here's a man and I know him and I vouch for him because I've worked with this man for years.
Will, thanks, Will. Jeff, if I can take it on, Will is quite correct. Profile of Jamaica goes up on the safety and security index. We need to look at the safety and security index of Jamaica so that investments can come there. So that when I visit in Jamaica, I am not afraid to walk down the streets because I'm going to be accosted by people who can see that I walk like an old man from Alexander Alex will. I need to be part and parcel of the people who feel safe in that area. And your National Development Plan 2030 in South Africa says Chapter 12 of the National Development Plan says by 2030 the people of South Africa, and by the way they are now 61 million, will, by 2030 the people of this country should be feeling safe and should actually be safe. Your wife needs to walk from Ushaka Marine to West Street in Durban, KZN, without fear and intimidation by anyone who recognizes that this particular person might be from Jamaica or might be from America or might be from Gauteng or might be from Saudi Arabia or might be from Kenya or might be from Malawi. We need to be safe. And I am sure comparative profiles of Jamaica and South Africa almost the same, particularly from the color of the skin that I have. I'm light brown. I have black hair. I am not a black man. I'm an African with brown skin and black hair. So those Jamaicans who are like me and all other Jamaicans, majority of the people of Jamaica have the same challenges that I have in my mom's street where I'm seated now. I am visiting my mom, and we have a responsibility to mobilize people with skills, with knowledge, people with tried and tested community mobilization, people who will walk into the streets and ensure that the profile that he has, like some of us with the international profile that we have, you use it to benefit the people of Jamaica. Since I was a young man and listening to music, reggae was my favorite music. I am a Bob Marley boy. I'm a Peter Tosh boy, Livingstone, Baliwela, and the rest of the new generation members of reggae artists. In fact, in this community of Beckersdale where I'm seated, at each and every house before freedom in 1994, people were listening to Bob Marley and Peter Tosh, and we can belt off the lyrics of the songs of those wonderful brothers, late brothers of ours. May their souls rest in peace. So we have an obligation to ensure that we share our expertise and we share skill with the people of Jamaica. I was so happy when Interpol, amongst others, approached some of us to say there's a campaign called Turn Back Crime. The purpose of this campaign is to ensure that we prevent crime and we combat crime, and we actually stifle your transnational organized crime gangs from stealing money from all over the world, like it would happen with the cash in transit high. You might find that money is going to be funding drug operations, funding scamming operation centers in India, and your cocaine developing syndicates somewhere in Mexico and all of those other areas. So we have a responsibility. Use what we have. Even those who don't agree with me, I always ask them for feedback. Some of them will be honest, some of them will be nice, some of them will be very harsh. Sometimes I'll go to bed very stressed, but they would help me to improve on the delivery of the product that I'm delivering with you in terms of expertise, knowledge, statistics, figures, putting systems in place, sharing experiences like your Gauteng co-created policing strategy,
Ambassador,
where you are
sorry to be continuing, but we don't have enough time. Leave. I'm going to ask you a quick question. Just give me a minute answer, and then we go to Mr. Rattigan, ask a quick question, then we have to wrap up. Do you think the Jamaican Prime Minister traveled to Haiti yesterday to see if they can solve Haiti's crime situation in a sense of sending troops there? Do you think it's a good idea for CARICOM to be organized in all the CARICOM countries to try and help Haiti in a sense of sending troops? Why don't the Americas send their troops in? What is your take on that? We don't have enough time.
I'm not going to go into politics. I'm going to say, one, the crime situation brings about destabilization, community destabilization. Two, we have a responsibility once again as those countries next to Haiti to ensure that they help Haiti stabilize. They stabilize that hotspot, and they would need to invite those neighbors that are a little bit far away from them. America would be one of them, and all other countries that would be willing to send in law enforcement agencies or teams that would stabilize Haiti as a hotspot so that it can return back to normalcy.
Let me just ask a quick question. Back in, I think it was 2011, 2012, the SAPs asked me to help with arranging training for a team that later came to be known as a tracker team. And what they did with that was they put up like a top 10, and their mission was to go after the top 10. And then they started out, I think, in Gauteng, and maybe I think it was Gauteng. I'm not sure if they had a group in KwaZulu-Natal at the time, but it spread across the country. It was highly successful. Now in Jamaica, they have a top 200. And so what advice would you give them in terms of searching and apprehending for a top 200 in a small country, 4,400 some odd square miles and less than 3 million people?
set up a tracking team, set up the tracker, set up the predators, let the predators go after those guys. Your predators would be trained along the very same lines of the tracking team that we were launching at Tembisa, at Tokoza when General Bekikele was there and you were there. Give them dockets of the top 200. Let them focus their entire energy on the top 200. Let them breathe the top 200, think the top 200, eat with forks written the top 200 and spoons and knives written top 200 so that they can then know their movement, so that they can know their method of operation, and they will bring crime down when you have that kind of a unit.
Okay. You're muted.
We're speaking to South African ambassador to South African ambassador. We're speaking to Interpol ambassador to South Africa and
for the
Mashaile.
Turn Back Crime campaign. Yes.
From the Turn Back Crime campaign. We have a few minutes leave. Ambassador, speak to your fellow Jamaicans.
Fellow Jamaicans, I love you very much. I believe that we can turn around the situation. As sister countries, South Africa and Jamaica. Most importantly, communities there. We need to have cultural exchange programs where, amongst other things, we will be dealing with crime, sharing experiences. Amongst others would be the issue of your cyber smartness between the people of the two countries. I'm talking about the ordinary people who are victims of cyber crime and cyber criminals. And it will be important for all of us to be on the same wavelength in terms of understanding the dynamics of crime and also being able, Jeff, to deal with technology, your artificial intelligence in policing, and all those kind of technologies that will help the police and communities to crunch, get stats, crunch them, and ensure that we are able to come up with a program that deals with crime and crime prevention and crime combating.
Mr. Rattigan, your final word to your people.
Well, final words on this program.
Yes.
My Jamaican people.
I don't mean the final word forever, but the final word of this program.
I'm wondering if you're a prophet and you can see in the future and there's something gonna happen to me and you're telling me to say your final words. No, but Jamaican people, we don't live, or we shouldn't believe that we live in a cocoon or we live in isolation. We live in a world where the issues that we face, other countries face those issues. And what we should try and do is to put aside our pride, reach out to those countries and establish relationships with them, because the issues they're facing today, you may not be facing them today, but the world as it is and as we know it, you may be facing those realities next week, next month, next year. And the question is, will you be prepared? One of the best ways to be prepared is to talk to people who are encountering those problems now, and find out from them, hey, how are you handling it? And also, is there anything we can do to assist you? Because assistance is a two-way street. It's not supposed to be a one-way street. And there are many, many countries out there like that. And the one country that comes to mind immediately is South Africa, because the crime problem is similar, but they have some innovative things that they're doing. And keep in mind that Jamaica is under 2 million. South Africa is over 50 million, right? So you can see the magnitude of the problem when they have to deal with it. More people, vast terrain, and in fact, I think Durban is the largest port, has the largest port in Africa. So you can see the nature of the problem already. And so I'm asking you, Jamaicans, reach out to your MPs, and MPs reach out to your leaders and let them know that if you really want to fight crime, here we have people like the ambassador and the Mashaile,
yes,
who can help us in many, many ways to deal with this problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I must say thanks to Interpol Ambassador to South Africa, Turn Back Crime Situation. Thank you for coming on. Wilfred Rattigan, former FBI agent, thank you for coming on. I'm Jeffrey Tavares, returning to the studios of Roots 96.1 FM. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. Until you hear my voice again, may God bless you. May God bless Jamaica, land we love, and the people of South Africa. Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you, sir.
Owen?
Can I leave?
Yes, sir, you can leave. Owen, are you there? Take it away. Owen?
My Highland don't salute. My Highland don't salute. Please don't salute. My Highland don't salute. Remember your
St. Andrews South, St. Andrews South. Do you want to know what the police is doing for you in serving and protecting you, our valid residents? Then tune in to the St. Andrews South Beats this and every Thursday, 11 a.m. right here on Roots 96.1 FM. Join Commanding Officer Superintendent Kirk Ricketts and the dedicated officers and for St. Andrews South Police who will facilitate your questions and inquiries. That's the St. Andrews South Beat this and every Thursday, 11 a.m. on Roots 96.1 FM, the voice of the inner city.
Hi, I'm Sharon.
Hi, I'm Marcia.
I'm Adrian.
Join us this and every Wednesday morning for Extraordinary Abilities on Roots 96.1 FM. Join us for news, views, and interviews with extraordinary people. Extraordinary Abilities every Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on your extraordinary radio station, Roots 96.1 FM. It's going to be fun, informative, and educational, but most of all, it will be extraordinary. Extraordinary.
Roots FM 96.1 in association with DJ Promotion Proudly presents the Innocent Vibes Roadshow on Tuesday, February 28, 2023 at All Star HQ